If you've ever felt like the background character in your own family, just wait until you hear what happened at my graduation. My name is Natalie Grant, and I grew up in the shadow of my younger sister, Camilla. Yes, younger. She was the golden one, the miracle child, the princess. And me? I was the reminder that not all children sparkle the same. Camilla didn't have to try. Our parents worshipped her every A+, every dance recital, every cute pout when she didn't get her way. Meanwhile, I got a participation trophy and a list of what I could have done better. At family gatherings, relatives would ask her about her dreams and me about helping in the kitchen. But I didn't hate her. Not really. Camilla was charming, talented, kind. The kind of person who didn't even realize she was breaking someone else by shining so effortlessly. When we both got into Fairmont University, I thought, finally, a clean slate. New people, new place, no family hierarchy. But then our parents did the one thing that changed everything. They called me into the living room that summer and said, "Camilla deserves to go to Fairmont. But we just can't afford to support both of you the same way." I blinked. "So, you'll have to manage on your own," my mom said, like she was asking me to pick a different brand of cereal. "But Camilla gets full support? Tuition, housing, food?" I asked. Stunned. "She's different," Dad said. "She has a future. We just don't want to waste resources." Waste. That was the word. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I nodded and started packing boxes to move on my own terms. And what they didn't know then was this. The next 4 years would change everything, and at graduation, I wouldn't just walk across the stage. I would rise in front of them all. Have you ever been treated like the less important sibling? Let me know in the comments. Your story deserves to be seen. I arrived at Fairmont University with 2 suitcases, $200 in my checking account, and a scholarship that barely covered textbooks. Camilla moved in the same weekend, into a brand new furnished apartment paid for by our parents. She had a mini bag, fridge stocked with kombucha, new linens, and a parking space. I had a dorm room the size of a closet and a meal plan that ran out by October. But I didn't complain. Instead, I got to work. I found 2 part-time jobs, one in the library during the week and another cleaning office buildings at night. I learned to stretch ramen, budget and spreadsheets, and live without the latest phone or weekend trips. Camilla, meanwhile, threw themed parties. She posted grateful Instagram captions from rooftop brunches and tagged our parents in stories. Like she was their greatest achievement. They reposted everything. Not once did they ask how I was doing. My fingers blistered from shelving books and scrubbing tile floors. I studied on buses, in stairwells, during 15-minute breaks. I wore the same coat for 3 winters. But slowly, I built something. I applied for fellowships, joined a student entrepreneurship incubator, and launched a side hustle tutoring business that turned into a full-blown academic consulting brand by junior year. By the end of my 3rd year, I was making more money than I ever imagined someone like me could. Not influencer money, but enough to pay rent, save, and invest. Camilla? She changed majors twice, struggled with deadlines, got extensions, blamed professors. Our parents still covered every missed payment with a smile. And through it all, I said nothing. I let the world believe what they wanted, because I knew something they didn't. Hard work doesn't shine in selfies, but it builds empires in silence. Have you ever had to earn everything while someone else had it handed to them? Tell me in the comments. I see you. By senior year, I had learned not to flinch when people compared us. She's just more fun, one classmate said about Camilla. You're so serious, my aunt once told me at Thanksgiving, as Camilla twirled in a new designer dress. What no one saw was that while Camilla coasted, I was building something real. I'd published 2 research papers, been invited to conferences, and even helped rewrite part of the student honor code to address academic equity. My little company, Grant Scholars, had grown to 4 tutors and over 100 clients. And still, our parents never asked how it was going. Never shared a post, never said we're proud of you. Until one day, out of nowhere, Camilla texted me, "Hey, can we talk? It's kinda urgent." She showed up at my apartment, mascara running, upset about, of all things, a professor who accused her of plagiarism. He said my paper was too similar to one from last year. She sniffled. I didn't copy anything, I swear. I sighed. Camilla, I've read your papers before. This one was different. Her eyes narrowed. Are you saying I cheated? I'm saying it doesn't sound like you wrote it. The silence was sharp. Then she exploded. God, you're always judging me. You act like you're better because you work so hard and struggle and suffer, but you don't know what it's like to have everyone expect you to be perfect. I blinked. Perfect? You think Mom and Dad pressure you? They worship you. She stood up, face flushed. You always make things about you. And just like that, she left. But that moment stuck with me. Not because of her anger. I could handle that. It was the crack in her voice when she said, perfect. I started to wonder if maybe the golden girl wasn't as untouchable as she seemed. Have you ever been made to feel guilty for succeeding without help? Or blamed for someone else's struggle? Let's talk in the comments. You're not alone. Weeks passed after that fight. No texts, no calls. Camilla vanished from my world, and honestly, I didn't mind. I was buried in final projects, grant applications, and onboarding 2 new clients who'd found me through word of mouth. Then, one day, I got an envelope, not an email, not a text, a real, gold-foiled envelope, delivered to my mailbox with my full name written in cursive. Inside was an invitation to Fairmont's annual honors gala, and not just as a guest, as an honoree. They were recognizing 5 students who had made exceptional academic and entrepreneurial contributions to the university. There'd be a stage, a dinner, a keynote address. One of the honorees would be giving a speech. Guess who got chosen? Me. I stood there staring at the card for a full 5 minutes. No one had ever invited me to be the voice in the room, the girl who always watched from the side, who passed hors d'oeuvres at other people's events, was finally going to hold the mic. And here's where it gets messy. Camilla had no idea I was being honored. And our parents? Still clueless, until the university posted the announcement on their official Instagram. The caption read, "Meet Natalie Grant, founder of Grant Scholars, and this year's student speaker at the 2024 Honors Gala." A true example of what Fairmont excellence looks like. And just like that, everything changed. The family group chat, silent for weeks, lit up like fireworks. Why didn't you tell us? We had no idea. This is huge. We'll be there. I didn't respond, because now I held the power of silence. Have you ever surprised the people who underestimated you? Or had your success noticed only when it was public? Drop a if you've ever felt that shift. The night of the gala, I wore a navy blue gown I'd found on clearance 2 months earlier. No designer label, no flashy jewelry, just elegance stitched with intention. When I arrived at the university ballroom, there were waiters with champagne, golden lights, and a full-string quartet warming up near the stage. My name was on the program. In bold, there it was. Keynote student speaker, Natalie Grant. I scanned the tables and saw it, right in the front row. A plaque that read, "Reserved, Grant Family." For the first time in 4 years, I realized they were coming to sit in my space, not the other way around. I inhaled sharply and walked inside. 15 minutes later, they arrived. My parents, dressed like they were attending a wedding. My father with a forced smile. My mother looking at everything except me. And Camilla, in a crimson gown, flawless as always, but with an edge of tension in her eyes. She hugged me stiffly. "You look nice." "Thanks," I said. "You too." We sat through the dinner. I listened to the speeches. I even laughed politely at the jokes, but inside, I was rehearsing every word of mine. Then the MC stepped up. "Our final speaker tonight is someone who built something extraordinary from the ground up. Please welcome our 2024 student honoree, Natalie Grant." Applause. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. Because this time, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted the truth to land. Have you ever walked into a room where you were once invisible and owned? Tell me how it felt. This moment was for every one of us. I stood at the podium, looking out at a room full of faces, some proud, some curious, a few already filming. And then I saw them, my parents, sitting side by side, my mother's lips tight, my father's jaw clenched like he was bracing for impact. Camilla, sitting 2 seats away, her eyes wide but unreadable. I smiled. Not at them, but at the version of me who'd once believed she had to earn their love. And then I began. When I arrived at Fairmont, I had no plan B, no backup, no safety net. I had 2 jobs, 1 suitcase, and a fire in my chest that said, "Survive." The room was silent. I didn't come here expecting recognition. I didn't expect support. I wasn't born into it. I built it. Through exhaustion, rejection, and more 3 a.m. breakdowns than I care to admit. A few people nodded. One professor gave me a quiet thumbs up. And yet, what I found here was not just education. I found proof that effort matters, that showing up, even when no one claps, still counts. I paused. Let the word settle. To anyone who's ever been told they're not worth the investment, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not a waste. Your potential isn't less valuable just because it's quieter. You matter, even if no one says it out loud. My voice caught just slightly, but I didn't let it break. Because sometimes the greatest success isn't loud. It walks into a room where it was once ignored, and stands tall anyway. Applause began, soft, respectful, growing. I ended with a simple thank you, stepped down, and returned to my table. Camilla stared at me. My parents sat frozen. I didn't say another word, because that speech wasn't for them. It was for every version of me that once whispered, "You don't belong." Now I did. Have you ever said something that needed to be said, no matter who was listening? Let me know. You're Voice matters here. The applause faded, the lights dimmed, and the string quartet resumed softly in the background. Conversations restarted. Laughter returned. But at my table, silence. My parents sat like statues, forks untouched, their expressions unreadable. My mother stared at the tablecloth as if it held the answer to everything she didn't want to admit. My father sipped his wine slowly, eyes fixed on the centerpiece. Camilla looked at me like I was a stranger. I reached for my water, calm, collected. Then my mother spoke. You made us sound like monsters. I didn't flinch. I told my truth. She blinked hard. You embarrassed us, in front of all these people. No, I replied. I simply didn't lie. My father cleared his throat. You could have warned us. Warned you about what? I asked. That I succeeded without you? That I wasn't the failure you predicted? Camilla looked between us, jaw tight. You always needed to prove something, she muttered. And tonight, congratulations. You did. The way she said it wasn't anger. It was heartbreak. I turned to her. Camilla, this wasn't about proving anything. It was about finally being allowed to exist in the same room. She stood up abruptly. I need air. She left. My parents followed a few moments later. They didn't say goodbye, and for the first time in my life, their absence felt like peace. As the event wound down, professors and students came up to congratulate me. Some said I inspired them. A few said my words made them cry. But one person mattered more than all of them. My grandmother. She approached with teary eyes and trembling hands. You've always been the strong one, she whispered. Even when they didn't see it. But I did. And tonight, everyone saw it too. She hugged me, long and tight. And in that moment, everything I had carried alone for so long felt lighter. Have you ever had someone finally acknowledge your worth after years of being invisible? Leave A if you know that feeling, and A if you made it through anyway. The next morning, my phone buzzed before 8 a.m. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Natalie Grant? Yes. This is Elena Ross from the Brookstone Foundation. I was at the gala last night. My heart skipped. Brookstone, one of the biggest education nonprofits in the country. They funded scholarships, mentorship programs, startups. Your speech, she continued, was exactly what we've been looking for. We'd like to meet with you to discuss a partnership, possibly a fellowship. I sat in silence for a second. Too long. Are you still there? Yes, I said quickly. I'm here. I'd love that. After the call, I stared at the ceiling for a full minute. Then I laughed. Not out of joy, but disbelief. Because for years, I'd begged my parents to believe in me. And now strangers were offering to invest in me, after one night of being seen. Later that week, the university reached out too. They wanted to feature my business in their alumni publication. They also offered to name a new mentorship grant after me, the Natalie Grant First Gen Scholar Award. Meanwhile, my family? Radio silence, until a package arrived. Inside was a letter, from Camilla. I'm sorry, it began. Not just for that night, for all the nights I made you feel like you had to shrink for me to shine. You didn't embarrass us. You showed them what I couldn't. She didn't ask for forgiveness, She didn't make excuses. She just told the truth, and that meant something. I texted her back. Thanks. Let's talk soon. It wasn't a dramatic reconciliation. No violins. No tears, just respect. And that was more than I ever expected. Have you ever received recognition after years of being overlooked? Or had someone finally admit what you always knew? Comment. I knew my worth, if you relate. After the gala, my life seemed to shift into another gear. Doors began opening. Opportunities I hadn't even imagined were coming my way. But still, something was missing. My family. The very people who should have been the first to believe in me. For days, there was no word from them. Not a text, not a call, just silence. Then, out of nowhere, a package arrived. I didn't even need to open it to know who it was from. Camilla. Inside was a letter. A simple apology. Not just for that night, but for all the moments where she made me feel less than. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It was just the truth. And for some reason, that meant more than anything they'd ever said. But I still needed to hear it from the people who had raised me. I needed something. I needed closure. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called them. The phone rang a few times before my mom picked up. She sounded cautious, as if bracing herself for what was to come. Hi, Mom. We need to talk. What happened, honey? Is everything okay? I just wanted to say one thing. I don't need your approval anymore. I've proved myself to me, but if you ever want to try again, we can. There was silence. A long pause. And then she said, I know we messed up. I know you've suffered because of it, but I don't know what more I can do. It's not about what you can do for me, Mom. It's about what I'm doing for myself now. What matters is the life I choose. And then we hung up. No apologies. No promises of change. Just an understanding that things would never be the same. And for the first time in my life, that felt like freedom. Have you ever had to let go of the people who couldn't see your worth? Let me know in the comments. I'm here for you. A few months later, my business was thriving. Grant Scholars had grown into a full-fledged academic consulting agency with a steady stream of clients and a team that believed in the vision I had fought so hard to build. But even with all of this, there was one thing that still lingered in the back of my mind. I wanted recognition, not from strangers, but from the people who mattered the most. And then it happened. One morning, as I sipped my coffee and checked my emails, I saw an unexpected notification. It was from Fairmont University. The subject line read, Congratulations, Natalie Grant, Entrepreneur of the Year Award. I blinked, rereading it. It was one thing to be acknowledged by strangers, but to be recognized by my alma mater, the very place where I had struggled to be seen, felt like the ultimate validation. The award ceremony would be held at the upcoming alumni gala. I couldn't help but smile, knowing that my moment was finally here, but I still hadn't heard from my parents, until a package arrived from them. Inside was a letter from Camilla. I'm sorry, she wrote. Not just for the night of the gala, but for all the times I made you feel like you had to shrink to let me shine. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't offer excuses. She just told the truth. And that meant something. Later that week, the university reached out again. They wanted to feature my business in their alumni magazine. They also offered to name a new mentorship grant after me, the Natalie Grant First Gen Scholar Award. While my family remained silent, the world was finally recognizing me. But the most powerful moment came when my parents showed up at the gala, unsure of what they would see. When I walked on that stage, receiving my award, I didn't look at them. I didn't need to. I wasn't proving anything to them. I was proving it to myself. After the event, I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of peace. I was no longer seeking their approval, because I had found my own validation. I was proud of the woman I had become. Have you ever had a moment when everything finally clicked, and you realized your worth without needing anyone's approval? Let me know in the comments.